And the reason we don't have David Lee Roth or Bret Michaels or John Bon Jovi or Bryan Adams anymore is because bands may go out and play, but they go to American Idol or they do these different things. Monday night in front of two people is a lot harder to fucking do than in front of 10,000 people screaming, right? And that's where all of those guys learned that.
An all-new episode of The Jeremy White Show.
Available wherever you stream.
Our next guest is the musical director for one of the greatest frontmen in rock and roll history for literally, going on 2.5 decades at this point. Big shows happening across Canada and the U.S. all year long. They're going to be performing live at the Rock and Thunder Festival in Edmonton, happening the weekend July 11th and 12th, alongside Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees Def Leppard, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, 2 Queensryche, so many incredible bands on that bill. And it's actually almost kind of like the stadium tour in a way, which is kind of funny. Tickets are going on sale this week. Go and check that out. Please welcome to the show for the first time from the Bret Michaels Band, Pete Evick. How's it going?
What's up, Jeremy, man? It's awesome to be here. Exciting for you to invite me, man.
I mean, here we are. We're finally doing this. We've been talking about it for so long, and we finally made it happen.
Right. Let's get right into talking about Keith Scott.
Yeah. Okay. So Keith Scott, let's talk about that. First of all, February 10th, 1978. Here we are, February 10th, 2025. 1978, Van Halen released their debut album on this day back in 1978. Today, right as we're talking about this.
Wow.
So we got to dive right into that. Eddie Van Halen, why is he the greatest and why do you love him?
why do you love him? 1978, and I was already playing guitar in 1978, but I was only 6 years old, and it might have been this day that I heard the record I might have heard it opening day. I'd never really thought about it, but me and my buddy John Harshman were in his living room listening to Kiss Love Gun, and his brother just threw open the door and said, "Turn that shit off. This is the new shit." And he put it down, and it was Van Halen 1. It might have been the day the record came out because we were big. Like our families and our brothers and where we grew up, we were all about having records the day they came out. That was passed on to us from our siblings and stuff. So I'd never thought, it never even occurred to me that the record might have come out that day, but maybe I heard it that in 1978 on this day. I remember even only being 6 years old and hearing Running with the Devil, and I just knew it was different. But I think much like you, because you're much younger than me, if I remember correctly, a lot of people, I'm at that age where I knew a lot of people that remember hearing Van Halen that were already these great players, and they talk about having to rewrite the way they had to play. Mm-hmm. I had to learn how to do this all over again, but I didn't. I was just being influential, I was influenced at 6 years old at everything. And I knew it was great, but I didn't know it was difficult as opposed to anything else because I hadn't been exposed to enough to go, holy crap, it's so different to me. But I just knew from that day, 6 years old, I just knew it was the greatest sound in the world. And it was innocent. I don't know what it was, but I knew that. And I right down to the end, man, I love his playing. I love his technique. I love his feel. I love everything he stood for. You know, he had these rock star qualities, but he was really a musician at heart to the end, and loved music. And sometimes when I get burnt out and just jaded and twisted, I'll go back and I'll just find interviews or videos with him and see the joy of playing guitar in his face, and that reminds me what it's all about.
Yeah. And it's funny just watching him. I was just recently watching videos again of the man, just trying to get a little bit of that mojo back into myself. And it's like, it's interesting how over the decades, he constantly reinvented himself, whether it was that first record with that guitar toner, then you get to 5150 with the harmonizers and Foreign Awful Carnal Knowledge. And he never did the same thing. Each album was different in a way, but also so much Edward.
And you would always hear, maybe for an album or two, the technique, and then he would move on to different techniques, even into the Me Wise Magic and some of that stuff, and the Can't Get the Stuff No More. He was always experimenting with anything, whether it was a Sustainiac pickup or the Trans Trem Tremolo or all these different things. It was just right down to the end. You knew that he was gonna, yeah, he was gonna tap and he would play some crazy chords, but there's always gonna be something that pushed the boundaries. Some little, even if it was just one little lick or one little technique, he always had something brand new.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know what? After that, I think we can all say that there's a little bit of Edward in every guitarist around the world.
There has to be, but I do believe a lot of times some people think they're influenced by him and they're completely off base of what they think they're influenced.
Like,
I've watched you play, and and I think you and me have talked about it. His phrasing, his chording, and his sense of rhythm speak volumes of who he was more than the trill picking and the tapping.
Oh yeah, I mean the right hand on that guy was ridiculous.
Right.
Like just his rhythm playing. I mean, just in the pocket. I'm the one that down in the band, like just trying to get that like swing. You can't do it. It's freaking tough.
One of a kind, the guy, and like I said, everybody's influenced by him some way and another, but not many people, I think, ever really swallowed the real pill of what his hands were really about. You don't hear a lot of guitar players with riffs like Mean Street or riffs like 5150. You know what I mean? You hear the licks and you get the tone, but I don't hear a lot of influence coming from the, have you ever heard anyone play anything like Me Wise Magic?
No. Right. You have to be I can't handle that shit on strong acid, man.
That's right. You know it.
But that's the thing about Ed, man. You just never really knew what you were going to get. I mean, you could have, top of the world, and then all of a sudden you'd have, Beluchitherium.
That's right. Yeah. I've never been able to say that word, so good for you, man.
Yeah, there you go. Talking about that, of course, you got your 5150 Stripe series behind you, and you got your two others. So are those your three favorite guitarists? I mean, you got your Steve Vai and your Jakey Lee back there, and Eddie.
I actually just yesterday put the Steve Vai gem up there. I have guitars all over the place, but those I was having that gem restored. It's an original 1988, and it was a gift to me. I switch around what happens. I have guitars in a stand here because I'm in my studio right now. That I go to play. Obviously, I'm a Dean guy. I've been endorsed by Dean, or I endorse Dean for over 20 years now, and I love all of their instruments, and I play. But that's just that's just my wall of the masters. Those are the three guys that Jake, Ed, and Steve were the ones that are the most important to me, most influential. That Jakey Lee guitar, by the way, is a ridiculous guitar. If you've ever put your hands on it, that neck is, if you ever get a chance to play one, the neck is it's almost like a mandolin. It's the smallest neck I've ever played in my life.
Really?
Yeah, it's a really strange feel. And I've had a few people come over just to play it because they're like, oh, what are you talking about? And it's super unique neck.
Ironically, they're all part of the Rebel Alliance and Traitors, and they're still pinned up against the freaking Death Star wall because nobody even followed the rules.
That's right, with Boba Fett watching right there,
watching over.
Yeah, yeah. I track with so many things. Jeremy.
I mean, every guy that's endorsed by you might be, look at Paul Stanley. He's playing Iceman's on stage, but in the studio, it's all Les Pauls.
Yeah, I was just this morning. The track I was working on, I pulled my old Les Paul out. Most of the time, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but most of the time, if I'm in the studio, I either play a Les Paul or a real Fender Tele, or I think you and me have talked about it before. I have all my Deans, but I've been going to my EVH flat black thing.
That's stealth, man.
But the neck on this thing is just it feels so good to me. So
it's funny you say that, because that neck specifically on mine, I have the same one. I find it's a little flatter compared to the other EVH models. It is. Like it's not as like C-shaped. It's more kind of like it's weird.
Yeah, so I have the 5150, that one, which is the same neck as the black one.
Yeah.
And, out in the other room, I have the other two, and their necks are different. Every one of them's neck is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that.
Yeah. And it's funny you're talking about the Jakey Lee like being really, really thin. Like it's funny how some guitarists who are, shredders like that, they'll go from a super, super thin profile neck, but then you play like Phil Collin, his stage guitars are like baseball bats. They're like
Yeah,
two by
yeah.
fours.
Yeah, it's funny. I played one of his guitars before and was surprised because he's such a little guy. But
Mhm.
yeah, the neck's big, So
He plays freaking like tree trunk necks and 13s. Try and shred or try and bend a full step on a 13.
does Phil play 13s?
13s, the whole, yes, it's crazy.
At one point in my life, I worked myself up to 12s,
No.
and I loved it. But it's such a weird thing, right? Because Eddie Van Halen and Billy Gibbons play eights.
Yeah. No, I think 9 to 46 is what came on my Wolfgang when I bought it, and I never deviated from it. It's all I
Yeah.
can play now.
Right, right. So yeah, I at a half step down, I'm at tens with the Bret Michaels Band. When I
Yeah.
play my own band at 440, I'm nines at 440 and tens at a half step down.
Mhm.
But I got some real damage in my arms over the years, and so I started scaling down from the 12s down to the 11s down to the 10s, just because the tension on my hand, just trying to make it feel better, which made me feel like a wimp, but it's what happened.
Yeah, but it's less impact. I mean, you want to reduce the wear and tear, especially with the schedule you guys are doing. It's like who needs arthritis?
That's right. That's correct. He needs it.
Bret Michaels canceled this weekend due to Pete Evick having arthritis. Like, come on, it's not happening.
Yeah, you're correct about that.
Talk a little bit about that. I mean, touring with Bret, I've seen you guys quite a couple of times now at this point over the last 2 years, and it's nothing but a good time. Like, sorry for like no pun intended, but
It is what it is, right?
it is what it is. Like, it's a blast every single time. Talk a little bit about that and, your approach to the show and putting the band together. I mean, like, you're basically Bret's right-hand man. I mean, the face that runs the place, essentially.
Right.
Talk a little bit about being involved with Bret and, how that show comes together.
The first thing I will say about Bret is his father, Wally, was an entertainer, not a professional entertainer, but meaning he enjoyed entertaining guests at his house. Bret will always tell a story about having people over, and his dad would be the life of the party. That's where Bret gets it from. It's a really weird thing, but he he misses his dad every day. His dad passed away, but the influence of what the human being that Bret's dad was is everything that he is on that stage. He's not up there to feed his own ego. He truly wants to make sure that everyone in that building had the time of their life. He doesn't treat it like it's a concert. He treats it like he's invited you to a dinner party at his house, and he really needs you to tell everyone in the neighborhood that it was the best dinner party you've ever been to.
Yeah.
He cares. He cares about making sure that people got their money worth. He cares to make sure that people walked away having a good time. He gets real down on people being down. Life's too short. He's been a diabetic his whole life. He's dealt with a lot of other problems, and right down to people on stage. If you're not, even my children when they were young, we're told to, if you are not having a good time up here, get off that stage, because if someone can see you, you're part of the show, whether it's our merch people, or it's our drum techs, the band, or whatever. If Bret sees a picture of someone in our crew frowning on stage or on their phone or whatever, I'm not going to say he loses his mind. He never loses his mind, but it's a no-go. It's not how it works for us. If you can be seen, then you're part of the party and you're entertaining and have a good time. And that's the way he lives his life. And so what we're doing out there is lifestyle as far as Bret's concerned. It's not putting on a show. It's a lifestyle thing. And it's ironic. Sometimes he'll get mad that everyone's not happy, but everyone better get happy, but that's what he wants. If he thinks one person was disappointed with something out of 80,000, if he thinks one person was disappointed, it ruins him. But that shows his passion for love for what he does.
Yeah. And I mean, look, especially, being in the band with the touring schedule and, one city you're in this day and next year you're back and forth. And it's like, yeah, not every day is going to be the best day ever. But as soon as you get on that stage, I think you kind of have to leave that shit at the door, right? And put that smile on.
You do. And I think that that's a responsibility as an entertainer, whether you're a DJ, a podcast host, a comedian, a guitar player, or football player, whatever. If you can't, if you've been given the gift to entertain and you don't do it, the world's a miserable place, man. And there's few of us that have the ability to put some smiles on some faces. And right now, that's your job. If you're an entertainer, if you leave everything behind you when you get on that stage, and your only goal is to make everybody feel better than they do.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Talk about from a musician standpoint, being in the band. What's it like going into rehearsals with the guys you have on that stage right now? I mean, like, how hard do you guys work on rehearsing this set, and what goes into that?
Though everyone's been in the band now for about 2.5 years. The newest member of the band's still been there about 2.5. I've been there 22 years, 21 years. Rob's been there 20 years. And we don't rehearse a lot, not on stage, but we rehearse it at the sound checks. And we take long sound checks. I personally, and this is terrible to say, I'm the music director, so I need to have my shit together. But after 21 years, I can't rehearse Every Rose Has a Thorn anymore.
Well, yeah. I mean, you can only hit that G chord so many times, right?
Yeah. So when we have to replace somebody, it's a task for me because I get really frustrated because I know those songs like the back of my hand.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, you have to be careful with who you bring into the band, right? Because not only are you trying to pay respect and be, as authentic to the record as possible, make it a representation of it, but
Right.
I mean, they are iconic parts. I mean, that the bra doom doom doo doom in Every Rose Has a Thorn. You have to have that drum fill.
You have to, and it's funny because Bret gives all of us creative license to do whatever we want within the respect of those particular parts. You do have to do that drum fill.
Yeah.
You can't not. You have to play the guitar solo at Every Rose relatively correctly. I do it. I don't do the dive bombs he does. I bend instead of dive bombs, but it's the same exact melody, just played with a different technique.
Yeah.
But then there's other things like Unskinny Bop and Ride the Wind, where Bret's like, just play something completely different as far as the guitar solos goes. But Unskinny Bop, that drum lick has to be played that way.
Yep.
All kinds of things. The band is fun. The band is pro. A couple of us see what's important differently, but as a whole, we all care about the music 100%. And just some of us see what I see is important versus what Dean sees is important versus what Mary sees is important is completely different. But right now, it's a really well-oiled machine. The most important part is the vocal stuff. Those harmonies are really what sets us apart from other things that Bret does.
Right.
Bret is super proud of those Poison songs and loves them, but he also had a little bit different vision in the early days. He was way more influenced by Skynyrd and Aerosmith than some of the other guys in the band and the producers that were making the records. You know what I mean? And you can start to hear on Flesh and Blood because he went up to Claremount's place. They did that
Little Mountain, yeah,
in Vancouver, and it was right about the same time that Permanent Vacation was done up there, or one of those Aerosmith records, and you can really hear even just the way Unskinny Bop was going that Bret was trying to pull some of that southern, like even the drum beat to Unskinny Bop is very ragdollish. But
very. You even got the loading bass snare drum reverb on that.
Right. And the guitar lick is very Skynyrd, and I always talk about with Poison songs, the Bret's Southern influence against CeCe's power pop punk influence is really what created what I consider a unique thing. I normally don't do this, but I'm gonna do it since it's you and you're such a great player.
Yeah, let's get some guitar going.
You talk about talk dirty to me. You know what? Singing looks so good. And you got this kind of punk thing. But then what people don't really think is it goes right in the middle of it is a Give Me 3 Steps from Skinner that CC played against that. And you have what becomes a very unique sound crossing punk with Southern rock. It happens in Unskinny Bob. It happens in a handful. It happens in Something to Believe In. Something to Believe In has a very sweet Melissa feel to it. And then CC puts his touch on it. And I truly believe it created a very, love him or hate him, it created a unique sound.
Yeah.
You know it's Poison when you hear it. You know
Absolutely.
Yeah. And even Ricky. Ricky, Ricky's not Tommy Lee, and Ricky's not, Eric Carr or Eric Singer or Alex Van Halen, but the way he swings that hi-hat is it's weird. You can listen to a Poison record and you know that that's CC's, or you know that that's Ricky's hat. That whatever his technique is against that hat and that swing against it is just like Tico Torres from Bon Jovi. I don't know how big of a Bon Jovi fan you are, but you can Tico on every single Bon Jovi record, from the first record to the last record, all the changes in production, all the difference in songwriting, the way he hits that ride cymbal is like nobody else on the planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's those little nuances. And Ricky has this thing with the hi-hat that a guy from AC/DC would never swing it like that. Oh, you know what I mean? But it created their sound,
Yeah, you listen to stuff like Alex Van Halen. He always had that like straightforward on the high. It wasn't a Rick Allen that there was that like give and pull, or even listen to Queen, that
right
with the snare. Everybody kind of has that special thing to their playing.
Yeah, and it's funny because one of the members of our band over the last couple of years, I had to really explain to them that they're one of these people that had spent their life creating the greatest band in the world, and if you're not the greatest player, you get removed. He had a lot of questions when he joined the band about why I chose people I chose, and I, at one point I had to say to this person, if you would have been in charge of Motley Crue or Poison or any of those bands, you would have fired what made them great.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. It just doesn't have to do with exact technique and being the greatest player in the world. Those kind of players just copy other people. These guys were creating original techniques, and whether you liked it or thought it was sloppy or bad. And I don't know how we got onto this. We're just talking about drummers and stuff, but we have a lot of different personality in our band. Everybody's on the same page. The goal as a music director after 21 years is to make sure that the band understands at all costs that your only job when you're a hired gun band, your only job is to make sure that your singer is so safe with you that he can do whatever he wants. Your job isn't to be a great player. Your job is to make sure your singer is comfortable so he can do his show without worrying that it's going to fall apart.
That's a really good way to look at it, actually, because it's like, you're not the rock star. They are, and you're there to execute those parts from that they wrote on their record.
That's right. And you're hired. And, your opinion doesn't matter. Now, you've seen that. Bret does, we think, and Bret treats me like I've been like I was the first guitar player in Poison.
Bret treats you better than CC DeVille, I'll tell you that.
But at the end of the day, and my band knows that now. The band knows what their job is. It took a couple of them a little while to understand that. Yeah. And consistency is everything. You have to deliver the same exact show every night, and going from local cover band to next level, that's where most people screw that up. Because when you're a local cover band, even if you're a professional local cover guy and you're playing 7 nights a week and you're living it, you still are playing on a Monday night at 1 o'clock in the morning to nobody, and you start to improvise what you think Ain't Talking About Love should go like,
Hmm.
or you start winging it and changing your kick patterns. You start entertaining yourself when you're in a cover band. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it took me a while to make everyone in the band understand that you have to play the exact same thing every single night. We're delivering a show, just like Rock of Ages or just like what a Broadway show. It's the same thing at this level. You show up every night and you do the exact same thing
Hmm.
and create a consistency so that everybody knows what's happening, from the lighting cues to the front of house guy to the audience, to
Yeah.
everybody. And that's what it takes as a music director to do what I do with a hired gun band, is consistency.
I want to touch on that. Being a hired gun band, and I'm sure you've seen this over the years that you've been in the industry. How difficult is it for musicians to go from being in that bar band to now playing at these big amphitheaters on a weekend with Bret, but then they have to reduce themselves and going back to playing that bar for the 20 drunks on a Monday night? It must be really tough on somebody's mental health. Like there must be, it's got to be self-taxing or.
I can speak from my point of view is um, 21 years ago when I joined Brett's band, I was already close to 30 years old. My time was overdue. I thought that my moment was never really going to come. I'd had record deals, I'd lost them. um, and I was back to covers and making a living in the bars. And then the thing with Brett came. And once I knew I had the gig and it was a solid gig, it wasn't like just 1 year. After about the second or third year, I remember just kind of, hold on, excuse me.
Bless you.
I remember thinking, oh, I'm never going back to play these bars again. I made it out of this. I'm not doing this. I'm beyond this. And maybe that was super egotistical. I don't know what it was, but before I joined Brett's band, I was at the point of suicide and misery. And now, sometime after COVID, something changed in me, and I grabbed my acoustic guitar and I went back out and just started playing.
Mhm.
And it was fun again and connecting. And I like to do this bar in Ocean City, Maryland, called Ocean's 13, that holds maybe 45 people. And I like to go up on a weeknight on the off season, and maybe there's only 4 people there. And I love it. But
Mhm.
I only love it because I'm choosing to do it, not because I have to do it. If I
Right.
would, if I would have never gotten the break with Brett, I'd be angry and bitter. And I think that the one thing about every member of our band is, I will say that we all love to play so much that I don't think any of those guys go back home and go, "Oh, this sucks. I'm playing in the corner of a pool hall tonight." I think we all think it's a unique dynamic. But I did personally go through a stage where I was like, my ego was out of control, and why would I want to play this shitty bar? And and the reason I want to play that shitty bar is because that's how I got where I got. And
Yeah.
hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. I guess you kind of don't forget where you come from, right?
Right, but you almost do.
Hmm. Well,
It's
I'm sure it could be, it's super self-inflating. You being out there and seeing, to 10,000 people screaming your name. You're standing next to, frontman of Poison. And then it's
right.
like Monday or Tuesday comes around. It's like, oh shit, well, we're only gigging on weekends. Oh, fuck. I guess I got to pay my bills. I'll go play at the fucking honky tonk fucking down the road.
Right. The real catch is what you just said. It's hard. I remember a buddy of mine when I was a kid ended up getting in Foghat, and he would talk to me, and he would say, he was an older guy, worked at a music store with me, got the gig, and he would talk about they came to see us, and he would always say us, and I kept thinking they're not coming to see you. And over 21 years, I've made some fans, and I have some friends and fans, but the most important thing you can never forget is they're there to see Brett. Do
Mhm.
not let anything go to your head. Like Brett, the reason people like me is because Brett on stage tells them I'm great. If it was up to their own device, I wouldn't even be there. It's Bret going, "This is my best friend and best guitar player in the world," and they hear that from him when he says, "Proud Mary on drums, she's great." The fans are taking his endorsement of us. If he didn't say those things, no one would even know who we were.
And you know what? That takes a lot of respect on Brett's part because it's like, he actually likes you guys and respects you. A lot of singers wouldn't even do that or acknowledge the backup band or the Pro Tools rig on stage left. Like,
right.
You know?
But he loves the feeling of a band. He likes it. Bret likes it personally.
Yeah.
So yeah. So back to just the answers. At this point in my life, I actually enjoy playing a solo acoustic gig on a Monday night as much as I enjoy playing in front of 80,000 people for different reasons.
Yeah. No, totally. I get that. Talk a little bit about the touring schedule. I mean, in 2025, here we are. Brett's going to be doing a bunch of festivals this summer with some of the biggest names in rock. I mean, it's essentially like the stadium tour, that one gig in Edmonton. You guys are doing these fly gigs on the weekends. I mean, Brett's still doing big business, whether it's with Poison or himself solo. I mean, at this point, there was a lot of rumor and speculation that Poison was going to go back out on the road this year, but it's not happening.
No. It's 2026 for Poison because this would have been their 39th year. Why put all the energy into this and then still have to go out and do it again as the 40th anniversary? One of them would have to sacrifice a lesser impact, and you don't want that to be on the 40th anniversary. So it made more sense. Now, Bret did say he was going to take most of this year off, and it doesn't look that way all of a sudden.
Well, then that leads to fans, questioning, well, why doesn't he just take Poison on? I mean, what is it about the solo band? I mean, I get the impression that Ricky Rocket feels like Poison would tour a lot more if Brett's solo band wasn't around.
That's true, Ricky. You're gonna have to. You have to have Ricky speak for that. But Ricky is without a doubt the one person that has the biggest problem with the solo band because he wants to be out there and play.
Right. Was there ever a conversation where you said to Bret, you know what, Ricky's bitching and moaning online. Why don't we just bring him in to play drums? I mean, it'll be half of Poison. Maybe we'll get some more cash for these solo gigs. I mean,
I ask Bret all the time to bring CC in to have him come. I'll sit back and just play the chords, man, and let him go at it because CC's my friend and I enjoy playing with him. And I think that the fans will get a kick out of those guys popping up once in a while.
It would be cool,
Yeah. Bobby has shown up and played with us in the past.
Yeah. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, Brett's still doing the business with or without the guys. So, I mean, if they were constantly out there, Poison, I mean, it kind of would dilute it, right?
Right. At this point, it's even though we're playing the same set of music, we deliver a different energy. It gives Bret the ability to realize exactly his version of what those songs were supposed to sound like, which to the average listener, they don't hear the difference, I don't think.
Well, I hear the difference. I mean, I come see the Bret Michaels Band, and you got the double axe attack and keyboards filling in the parts. You got your 3-part harmonies in the back. And it sounds like the record. It sounds awesome.
Right. But as far as the touring schedule, it's a lot different. I was talking the other day to some of the guys on Warrant about this, and it's so different now because you used to be able to go out and just go all week. You could tour for 6 months and have maybe Monday and Tuesdays off, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That really dried up. I don't know if it's because of Nashville, and Nashville's the ones that really started doing the pull out on Thursday, play Friday, Saturday, maybe Sunday, and come home. And the industry as a whole to play gigs that you're certain will be packed houses, it's back to a Friday and Saturday thing, which makes it doesn't make it real affordable to bring a bus anymore. So you spend a lot of times in the airport, and 2 days now is as exhausting as a whole week used to be.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, is it more economically viable for you to go out and just do these fly gigs on the weekend, guaranteed to sell at a casino theater, 5,000-6,000 people on a Friday, Saturday, as opposed to trekking it through, on a bus, $1,000 a day just for the freaking bus, and it's. Yeah,
it makes more financial sense to do it as fly dates at this point. On the occasion that a tour comes through, there's a handful of tours that could do that. All during the week, but it's just so rare right now. the economy is about to change. The whole world's about to change with the way the American politics is going. We'll see if the money changes and people can afford to do things differently. But as of right now, it makes more sense to just do the weekends.
Yeah. And look, I mean, it's easy. You guys fly in. Brett's got his jet. You guys, show up, do the gig, and
Yeah.
go home the next day. I mean, it's you're home in your own bed.
Yep, absolutely.
Speaking of private jets, did you see the news? It's just breaking right now. Vince Neil's plane hit Vince Vaughn's plane at Scottsdale Airport.
Was it Vaughn's plane? I knew it was Vince Neil's plane, but I was hoping Vince wasn't on it. That airport is where Brett's plane is stored.
I was just literally there because the PXG Golf Center it's right next to the
Right
runway.
there. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever happened, Brett's plane is literally 10 feet from what just happened. And but I think Vince is in Florida. So Vince does a lot of that plane's a business to him, where Brett's plane is just Brett's plane.
Okay.
Vince charters it and lets it out to other people.
Damn. Okay. That's pretty cool. What's it like flying on Brett's plane? Is it fun?
It's fun, but I'll tell you that every single day that I get on that thing, I tell the pilots, "Don't make me famous today." You've got Buddy Holly, Randy Rhoads, Stevie Ray Vaughan. In my brain, those planes are where guitar players go to die. So
Oh, I hate that you said that, but it makes so much sense.
yeah, I literally say, "Don't make me famous today" every time I get on the thing.
It's evil. We're laughing about it, but at least we can laugh about it.
Yeah, you have to. But there's a lot. Like every day, there's a plane crash now. This shit.
No, I know. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, just this one alone. I mean, like, I'm looking at the video now, and the plane literally skidded across the runway and slammed into the plane that's parked. Like, geez.
Yeah, I've seen the video already before I got on here, and it's weird because I spend a lot of my life right there where that's at, like on that tarmac. And me and Brett, there's a great little restaurant in there that we'll eat at sometimes and stuff. And
Nice.
And so it's weird to see that in those pictures.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I hope everybody's all right. At least Vince wasn't there, so that's good.
Right. I think today's his birthday, isn't it?
No, it was like over the weekend. It's funny. I posted a picture of me and Don Dokken from M3 a couple of years ago, and I put "Happy Birthday, Vince Neil," and everybody was like, "Oh my God, the similarity! It's so true."
Funny.
Well, look, Bret Michaels Band doing a whole bunch of shows. I mean, BretMichaelsBand.com, I think or BretMichaels.com, just to go and get all the tour dates and everything. But what's going on with Evick? I mean, you're working on music in the studio. You got some stuff you've been teasing. You going to be releasing some more singles this year? Or what's your plan?
I have 2 more songs that I will have done in the next couple of weeks. That I might not call it Evick because my band Evick has a sound.
Mm-hmm.
And these 2 songs are very country influenced, which I'm a Virginia boy. The country music's been in my roots my whole life. And I've had these couple ideas that I think are brilliant ideas, but there's a much more Southern country feel to them. So I might just call them Pete Evick songs instead of Evick songs.
Nice.
But for some reason, you know how it goes, Jeremy. You go up and down. I can write 2 or 3 albums in a year, and then I'll go 4 years without like one song coming out. Like writer's block hits me hard, and then when it gets unleashed, I'm just stacked with ideas.
Yeah, and then you're unstoppable, and it's like, well, what goes with what, or is this good? And then you get demoitis, and you're like, well, you know what, fuck it, I'll just throw all of this out.
And I'm a gear guy. You and me have talked about this before.
Oh well, yeah, a stupid delay pedal will influence you to create some idea, and you're like,
yeah. And you're a Pro Tools guy too. I can buy a new plugin, and all of a sudden it opens up the door to me to write a whole new song.
Yeah.
Just because I want to use this reverb or this effect or that. So yeah, I'm in a very creative part of my life though, and I feel good about it. I got some neat ideas coming, and I hope everybody likes it. So.
Do you do any writing with Bret? Is there any original stuff on his horizon? Is he still write, or is he in a creative mode?
It's interesting you say that, because me and him were talking about this the other day too. Me and him have released 4 solo records, and 3 of them made it to the Billboard Top 40, and one of them came out the same week that a Poison record came out, and we went to number 13, and Poison only got to number 17. We actually beat Poison on the debut of Billboard.
No wonder Ricky Rocket hates you.
So there's been music over the last 20 years, but nowadays it's one song at a time. I don't know that it'll ever be another record when it comes to Bret. He's got his hand in so many other things that the moment will hit him. Usually maybe twice a year, this idea will come to him and he will really get really passionate about writing. And I carry my mobile rig with me wherever we're at, and we've worked at his house, we've worked at my house, we've worked on the bus and the hotel room. We've even tracked on his plane before. I mean, that's the beauty of it these days. You know, as an engineer and a producer yourself. But it's really just when the moment hits him. Bret is not. He's not in the mood to sit down and try to write music. When it hits him, he's going to. But if not, we're just on with what we're doing.
Yeah. No, sure. You never know where inspiration is going to strike. I mean, like you said, it's good to have yeah, even your iPhone, just recording some voice note or some little melody, and
oh, he does it all the time. That's usually how it works with me and Bret. Is he will sing into his iPhone a part and then a drum beat, and then I will pull those terrible sounding files, not terrible, his performance, the terrible quality of the phone. I'll actually throw him into Pro Tools and try to put him into some kind of grid, and he'll beatbox. Bret loves to beatbox. And he loves it. And actually, we have the last country single we had about 5 years ago, a song called "Girls on Bars." He beatboxes in. We had when we did the cover of "What I Got" from Sublime, he beatboxes through that whole thing. But a lot of times, there's been times where Bret will mouth everything, almost like Bobby McFerrin. Remember Bobby McFerrin?
Yeah,
the happy guy. He'll mouth the parts, the guitar parts and everything into Pro Tools, and then I'll go back and put the real instruments over what is mouthing it. So it's really unique. A lot of people would never recognize Bret, and I don't know why the time has never been taken to explain. It almost sounds blasphemous to compare anyone to Prince, and I'm not comparing him to Prince, but what maybe like Trent Reznor is. There's no boundaries in the studio for Bret. He will turn anything into an instrument.
Yeah. And I think he also has that little bit of leeway because Bret Michaels alone, I mean, he could be whatever he wants, but people have an expectation of Poison.
That's correct. You have to write Poison music if you're going to make a Poison song. And Bret likes to do anything. If you ever listen to the 4 solo records we did, there's a bunch of stuff where he went through this kick where he wanted 808 kick drums on everything and almost an R&B sound to the rhythm section. He's always up for pushing the boundaries, and it's just one thing I don't think anyone ever really recognizes with him that I wish they would. I wish that I could video him in the studio and just watch him tinkering around. Maybe it's a lot like Steven Tyler. Tyler does that a lot.
Oh, that classic video of them recording Pump in the studio. Yeah. I live and breathe that, doc.
Yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, there's always music to come with Bret. Yeah. He never forces it. He's never going to go, we're going to write a record in September. That's not him.
That's it. I mean, look, with Poison's 40th right around the corner, I mean, like, do you think he's going to hop in and say, all right, guys, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. We got a box set coming out. We need 3 new songs. Let's get something done.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. I've actually thought my dream at one point was for me to write a Poison song. And because all the guys in the band I've had friendships with, some more than and some less, and I was going to go to each one of them and go, would you play on my new song? Without telling the other 3. And then at the end of it, present them with a Poison song.
Here's your Poison song.
Yeah, I thought that would be a neat story. Do you know what I mean?
I think you should still do it.
Yeah. This is new Poison that they didn't even realize they were making.
Yeah. And then we'll do the world premiere right here on the Jeremy White Show. New Poison that Poison didn't even know they were poisoning.
Right. It would be great. It'd be a great story. It would last forever.
No, totally. Yeah. Set list wise for all these gigs that are coming up this year, any changes in the set list? Going to be adding some stuff? Is Fallen Angel finally going to make a full-time return to the set list?
We've been doing Fallen Angel more and more. That's all I can say.
I tell you, I felt like I was like allergic to that song. Every time I come, I need to hear it. And finally, I got to hear it last time.
Gavin, my son, he came with us to Mohegan Sun this weekend, and he said that he must be the curse because we always play it when he's not around, similar to kind of, what you said. But it's been showing up more and more. Yes. It should be in the set every night. I know where Bret's going with it sometimes. But the fans just love it. The fans, it's a great
Yeah.
song, right? It's a great song.
It's the perfect song.
It
The
is.
perfect song. The tempo, the production, like everything, like especially Bob. You get with the sound mix and everything. It's the perfect live song.
That's correct. I agree. So hopefully it'll be in all summer long.
Yeah, I'm hoping to hear that this year, man. That's gonna make my 2025 if I get to hear Fallen Angel a couple of times.
Yep.
Some great tour dates happening. You're going to be performing this upcoming next weekend, the Mardi Gras, Galveston, Texas. Yep.
Right.
Detroit, doing Rockford. Hello, Rockford. Last time we played here, we played with Cheap Trick. Ranson, Lachlan, Nevada. You guys are all over the place this year. And coming up to Canada for a big show, Rock and Thunder Edmonton, July 11th. Tickets are on sale for that now at BretMichaels.com. Go and check it out. And we hope to see you on the road this year. It's going to be great. You've said it all, Pete. Anything else before we go?
It's just, we got to make sure the world knows Keith Scott's the best guitar player living.
You know what? Okay. You know what? This is what we call the weave. We started on that. We're going to end on this.
Right.
All right.
I have to bring it full circle.
You have to bring it full circle. So, what do you think of the new Bryan Adams song? Have you heard it? Roll with the Punches.
I did hear it.
So the album cover, it's Keith Scott's hand, punching, Brian in the face. And the first time in a while, you hear an extended Keith Scott guitar solo in a Bryan Adams song. First thoughts and reaction.
And Mutt Lange produced it.
And co-wrote. And those backing vocals, roll with the punches. Like,
what I thought was the song itself did not grab me like Somebody or Run to You did when I was a kid, but it's a fun song and it's pure, raw, real Brian, Keith, and Mutt, three of my favorite people in the whole world, and I was really happy to hear it. Like, I didn't dislike it, but I didn't go, holy crap, that's better than the Reckless record.
well, yeah, I mean, come on, you can't really do that ever again, capture that magic in the bottle. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's here we are in 2025. Bryan Adams and Mutt Lange are back together, and then you got Keith Scott ripping guitar. I mean, like, come on, that is rock and roll right there.
It's real rock, and the record sounds good, and Brian's voice sounds good, and like you said, there's a ripping guitar solo, and and did you really sit and listen to the solo?
Yeah, I did.
It's he's so, it's all about the feel, and it's a lot like Ace Frehley to me. I never in my life dreamed I would compare Ace and Keith Scott, because Keith has such soul and he can play those slow notes. But when Keith gets fast, it like Slash and Ace. It's not this meticulous timed Paul Gilberty thing. It's in and out of slop a little bit, and it's a little messy, and I love it.
It's organic. It's not robotic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it felt good to hear it. I loved it. So
Yeah, I mean, look, you don't hear guitar solos in music anymore. You listen to the new rock bands and stuff. I mean, the handful of them that there are, like,
Right.
you're not hearing any real guitar solos, or
right, you're absolutely right. So it was great. I was happy to hear it. I thought it was great, and I'll listen to it as much as I can. And when I see you in Canada, maybe we'll do an acoustic cover of it, you and me.
Let's do it, man. We'll get up there. I need somebody.
Somebody like you.
Before we go, a veteran of the music industry, if we're talking about new bands that are up and coming, what kind of advice would you give a new upcoming band that's about to hit the scene and is trying to make it big?
I will tell you this. Obviously I have a young son trying to do this.
Yeah.
And I 100% believe that regardless of the internet, and let me preface this. I remember the day that I emailed a song for the first time. I'll never forget sending an email, finding out that the guy got it on the other end. And I remember going, this is it. My life has changed. From my bedroom, I can get my music into the hands of anybody in the world. And there was this feeling that this tool was going to help, and it has helped, but you still have to go out on the road, and you have to play, and you have to play to nobody. And the reason that we don't have David Lee Roth or Bret Michaels or John Bon Jovi or Bryan Adams anymore is because bands may go out and play, but they go to American Idol or they do these different things. Monday night in front of two people is a lot harder to fucking do than in front of 10,000 people screaming, right? And that's where all of those guys learned that. So the problem with rock and roll bands today is not the music. The front man doesn't exist. The front man that suffered to get every clap. You know what I mean? That person doesn't exist anymore. And that is what a young band needs to do, is go out and sleep in the van and play for tips and play anywhere they can and find a connection with the music. There was a time in my life where my guitar and my music was all I had. I was in a van and I was with three other guys and we loved each other, but we couldn't stand each other. You know how it goes. And all you have are those songs. And that's what made us us. And I would just say to any band these days, the tools are here to make your record sound great. You can do everything for cheap now. Get in the fucking van and go play for nobody.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's fucking great advice.
Yeah, that's what I think. One of my favorite moments of influence to me was the Behind the Music with Bob Seger in the late 80s, early 90s. The woman was interviewing Bob and was very condescending to him. I forget exactly what she said, but she said, you're not the sexiest dude in the world, and your music isn't I guess during the disco age, it was, it's kind of the same grief that people probably gave Kiss, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You said something real condescending, and what do you think the secret is to your success, being that you're not exactly what pop music's all about? And he said, I showed up. And the moment I heard him say that, my life changed that day. And I became that guy that would play on a Monday and a Tuesday. And I would go down to the bar and play for $50. If you would let me play, I would play. And if there was two people in that bar, I would sing till 4:00 in the morning until I was their favorite artist. And I think that's what's missing today.
Do you think it's a lack of drive on the generation's part? I mean, is it TikTok and social media? Like, people just want this instant gratification of being a rock star, or what do you think's contributed to that?
I think that because an era came where people didn't have to do that. There was an era where people were succeeding without having to do that. And then it all got filtered and all got jaded. And I think I don't think it's lazy. I think it's a lost art. And I think you can sit and watch Mick Jagger on TV and be fascinated by him. And at this point, it's like watching Star Wars, it's like watching R2-D2. It's just fascinating, but the history is, it might be fake. I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say. I think you understand what I'm trying to say is I think it's just a lost art. Because when my son started playing, he just wanted to play big shows. He was just going to get on opening acts for big people. I said, that's not how this is going to work. And I put him in a van and I sent him to LA and back. And he played Vegas for 20 people and he played Tucson for 25 people. And he came back and I saw it in his eyes. He understood. And there's a lot of bands out there right now. There's a lot of young bands. There's this band called Ratchet Doll. There's this band called Fatal Attraction that me and Chad just met. There's all these young bands right now. They have to, because there's no LA and there's no Nashville for them and there's no Seattle, because it's a broader spectrum and one band's from Texas and one's from Virginia and one's from Chicago, they have to find a way to connect and play live with each other and create a scene that is continental instead of just city. And that's going to take some work. That's going to take some gas money and some effort, but they have to all meet in the middle and play together and build a scene. They have to build, I think.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting for you here to talk about. I mean, it's not necessarily regional anymore. I mean, like, you look at certain bands it's funny, even just publicists, you try and book a band to do an interview and they're like, you go, oh, right now they're not doing promotion in Canada. There's no tour dates. But, well, my show is predominantly 70% based in the US and Australia.
Right.
But the internet, there's no borders anymore.
That's right. That's right. Go anywhere you can. Do every podcast you can. Speak to any human being you can, and let them know that you have some music they might like. And just door to door, man. Just door to door. What's someone going to say? No. If you meet someone, hey, I wrote this song. Check it out. Just I still believe in the grassroots,
Yeah.
but doing it, getting it to the people. That doesn't mean just go set up in your backyard and play live. Make it count, but you know what I mean.
No, totally. Absolutely. That's great advice. I think a lot of people are going to take something from that.
I hope so, man. I appreciate you asking the question. It's a fun question to talk about.
Real quick before we go, talk to me about candles. What's going on with the candle stuff?
Shining Soul Candle Company. I started that company after the third season of Rock of Love. I played guitar since I was 5 years old, and all my life, nothing but guitar. I never played sports. Not a single hobby. 24/7 guitar songwriting. And after Rock of Love, man, I was burnt. It's the first time in my life that I didn't even want to look at my guitar. Yeah, it was 3 solid years of being on the road and those cameras in our faces and everything like that. And I came home and I just said, I've never had a hobby in my life. I wonder if I can make a candle. And I went to the hobby store and I bought all the supplies. And here we are 12 years later, and I've turned it into this corporation. I got a bunch of new fragrances just came out this month, and it's a neat thing. It's the farthest thing from rock and roll there is, but it's still art. It's still art, and fragrance is like music. You hear that song, and you go right back to the moment you heard it. When I hear that low note from Jump, it is 1984, and I'm in my childhood bedroom in February. I hear Casey Kasem talking about it on the radio, and I feel the sun. I'm in a room with no windows right now. If that song came on, I would feel the sun on my shoulders because where it takes you. Fragrance is similar. You like in a candle fragrance, you'll smell something and you'll go right back to where it's very memory related. So there's a lot of equals to it, but shiningsoul.com, and I'm as equally passionate about what I built with that business and built a brand. I built a brand. The one thing I always say is the candle industry was a multi-billion-dollar industry run by the big players are Yankee Candle and Bath and Body Works. Both of them do over $1 billion a year. And I remember once I started to make the candles, then I started thinking, what can I do with this? And I started doing this research, and there's no logo. There's no Nike logo. There's no Ford logo. There's no Kiss logo in this multi-billion-dollar business. Even Crest toothpaste has a logo. There's no definable logo to anything in the candle industry. There's nothing that, you may wear a Chevy t-shirt and never own a Chevy in your life, or a Nike hat and never wear Nikes.
Yeah.
And so I kept thinking,
or wear a Nirvana shirt and hate the fucking band.
right. And I remember I kept thinking, let me take everything I learned from Gene Simmons and apply it to something outside of the music industry. Let me see if I can take all that marketing, all that business that Gene said, and go to the candle business. And the first thing I did was create that logo, and I put it everywhere. And now I've got hundreds of people around the country with it tattooed on their body. I can guarantee a Yankee Candle, nobody's got that, whatever they have tattooed on their body. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, Yankee Candle is just like a font, I think.
It is. But you get my point. So it was an interesting test on look, if you can succeed in rock and roll, you can succeed in any other business. And it was neat to go outside the realm of rock and roll and see if I could apply all the business aspects I'd learned in the music industry to something completely different and make it fly. And I did. I mean, I still haven't put Yankee Candle or Bath and Body Works out of business, but I have retail stores, and I have employees, and I have a business, and that's pretty cool.
That's pretty amazing,
Yeah, I think so. So.
Yeah, look, I mean, everybody's got their signature, their tequila or their whiskey, and you've got the candle. Right. I mean,
that's right.
I'll be honest, I think I'm picking the candle these days.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yes, sir.
I love that. Well, Pete, you've said it all, my friend. This is awesome. We went a lot longer than I was expecting to. This is fantastic.
Awesome. I had a great time, man. I'd go all night long. I'm grateful that you called me, man. what I've wanted to do something with you, and hopefully this is just a start. We do lots of other cool things, man.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have to get Bret on at some point too. Jeez, my goodness, the guy's he's ghosting me.
We'll make that happen.
Yeah.
Especially with the show coming up that you keep talking about in Canada.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that he knows that this is the avenue to get eyes on, because that's a big show.
Oh yeah, I mean it's stadium show level, right? I mean that's basically the bill from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'll influence him to do the right thing.
I love that. Well, BretMichaels.com to go get tour dates and go see Pete live this year doing his best Eddie Van Halen and Keith Scott live.
You know that in my Tonex now, I put an AC30 model in there.
Oh yeah.
And so during Something to Believe In and Unskinny Bop, the whole thing I play the AC30 model. You got to come hear it, man. You'll love it.
I got to hear that.
Chorus pedal. I've been using my chorus pedal.
Oh, I was going to say I need it dripping with chorus. I need the chorus, baby. Need more chorus.
I don't use the chorus on Unskinny, but I use it. Yeah. I use it on Talk Dirty to Me, and I use it on Something to Believe In.
I'm like Bruce Dickinson in the SNL bit. I gotta have more cowbell, baby. I'm the chorus. I need more cowbell.
That's right. More chorus. I need more chorus.
An all-new episode of The Jeremy White Show.
Available wherever you stream.
Catch up on past interviews and episodes on demand now.
Subscribe so you don't miss any of it.